week has been weekend has been amazing. Ready to get started with a productive week. Um, I'm excited. We've got our second part of what essentially is equity consulting strategy call with Patreon on Tuesday. So if you haven't signed up for that, on the Patreon, be sure to sign up. But I wanted to talk on that call. We'll talk about a little bit on the wealth building impact of equity consulting deals and kind of building this portfolio of equity without having to pay any money. And I'm not a big fan of the word consulting because I think people think, oh, I'm giving advice or that kind of thing. But really, it's just finding what they need. And a lot of times that's in the form of JVs or just connections and that kind of thing. I want to talk about it from the perspective of just my personal life and how I've built a lifestyle negotiating these kinds of deals or improved my lifestyle in some cases negotiating these kinds of deals, just to kind of give you an expanded version. And then on Tuesday, I'll go through probably a dozen different examples I've done of these kinds of deals. A few hundred, I would estimate 300-400 that just keep coming. I'm going to talk about maybe 6 or 7 of these here, and talk about another dozen of them on Tuesday's training. And there's just so many. So I want to run through these. If you are interested in equity consulting, I would say definitely check out the Patreon. I want to start with a deal that I am going to dig into because it's more on the business side. So I am going to dig into this on Tuesday. But this starts this lineage, and you can start to see how one deal leapfrogs you into the next, and then you find another one, or you learn something from this that you're able to apply to this other deal. And again, all of these examples are really from a lifestyle standpoint. But what happens is you just start to see opportunities everywhere. You see underutilized assets, underutilized resources. And when you're using a strategy in your business life, you just start to use it in your personal life as well to get stuff for free, which is great. So this whole line of deals started with a mortgage deal that was a really interesting one. So I will mention how this came about. So there was an employee that basically didn't like the boss of this business and had the other employees of the business in that mortgage company that were also not happy with the boss. And they basically wanted me to take over the business. And so it was almost like a strike against the boss. It's like, listen, we are the business. We're going to leave. You need to figure out something with this guy for him to take over. And so I was in the mortgage space at that point. And so that led to these other things. I'll dig into, just the details of that deal on Tuesday. What was really cool though is, during owning that business and kind of taking over running that business, they were doing some ads with this magazine. And so I came in and I was like, I don't know if this magazine is really generating us any leads. It seems like some kind of sweetheart deal he was doing with the other guy. And so I sit down with the magazine owner. He actually was a really great guy, but I was like, yeah, we are not going to continue doing these ads. But this does seem like a really great business. This magazine business seems like a great business. Maybe we can work something out. And I ended up doing a deal with him where we were building relationships with a lot of real estate agents. He wanted real estate advertisers. I said, listen, you can keep our ad in there. I'll refer people to you, and you can take a cut. Give me 50% of what the ad cost is, because his cost is just nothing. And then after I pay for my ads, I'll get payment for anybody in addition to that. So it'll pay for my ad, and then anybody after that, I'll just get income. And so it ends up being this rev share deal, and it was recurring, which was really beautiful because a lot of times people signed up, they just continued to pay that. So that became, it's just really the reason I think a lot of this thinking is what I take into the private equity funds when we're doing things that's like, oh, 200% return, 300% return. It's more of the out of the box thinking that leads to that, and how we look at, expenses and turn those into assets or turn that into income. And that generates that kind of return, or generates kind of what I call the infinite return scenarios. So that was one of those deals where we were spending money on this ad. We already were doing the work with the real estate agents. We literally knew how much money the real estate agent was making. Like, we knew on the deal, it's like, hey, they just get 20 grand on this deal. Let's pitch them $2,000 ad, and we're gonna get $1,000 of that in addition to our mortgage commission. So it was a very, very beautiful situation. Now, because of the magazine ad, I'm in a restaurant one day. And so that income just becomes like kind of my personal income out of that thing. But I'm in a restaurant one day, I see, I say our magazine. I had no equity in the deal. It was just a rev share. But, I kind of had this deal. So it was in the restaurant. I went to this restaurant a lot. And I'm talking to the Christopher. The restaurant was called Christopher's, and the owner was Christopher. And so I was talking about it's like, oh yeah, you like the magazine? It's like, you should advertise in this magazine, trying to get my little commission. And he's like, I don't think I would get much business from it. And I was like, yeah, we could try it out. We could give you a discount. And so I was gonna, kind of based on what I get, give him this discount. And he brought up something that changed my life. And, I want to give you these stories because I think each time you have an opportunity to negotiate these things, it creates these opportunities. Me sitting down with that employee and letting them know, I guess I could have mentioned that before, but I let them know I was leaving SunTrust. I actually got fired. I was trying to buy a mortgage company. And I basically told this employee, and this is a big part of what I'm always telling guys, like, you should be telling everybody that you're buying a business. So I tell this employee that, hey, I'm looking to buy a mortgage business. And they say, hey, you should buy ours. And I'm like, okay, well, like, how can we make that happen? It's like, I think I could just force the owner into having to sell it. And this is back in Chattanooga, which is kind of small, so everybody knows each other. So I hadn't really talked much about that specific deal. But I got to sit back and they kind of strong armed into that situation. But just me talking and being creative and talking to that employee, and number one, sharing that I'm looking to do a deal. I'm looking to do a deal in this industry, blah, blah, blah. The second part, hey, we got this expense. I'm not just going to say, okay, let's, I think even every time that you quit something is an opportunity. I'm not going to just tell this person, all right, we're not going to advertise anymore in the magazine. Instead, I can sit down with them and just see, hey, is there a deal to be made here? Maybe I want to buy them. Maybe who knows what the case may be. Now, when you're doing this in your personal lifestyle, it's just more general. When we get into how we go about this in the consulting for equity process, in equity consulting, it is a specific process because we know exactly what we're looking for. This is just for fun because, each one of those opportunities is just kind of an additional thing. So I'm talking to the restaurant owner, and he brought up something that ended up having a big impact on my life. He's like, okay, well, what I actually will pay full price if you'll let me pay in barter dollars. I'm like, barter dollars? Like, what, you want to pay me in monopoly money, dude? Like, what am I going to do with this fake money? And he basically explains how it works. It's like, well, I'm like, I can use the money. I didn't care. He was like, oh, you can use it for this and you can use it for that. I was like, I can use it here, and it's going to be the same as me spending money. Like, bet, that's beautiful. I'll do that all day long. Like, I'm going to spend that money anyway. I'm here all the time. You can give me these barter dollars. I go, and then I have to, convince my quote unquote partner, like, hey, we're going to split this 50-50, but it's going to be these barter dollars. And then I have to convince him. It's like, so we end up going to this restaurant all the time. But then I realized, like, oh, there are all these other opportunities and things that I can do with these barter dollars. And so me negotiating a deal introduces me to this other world. I ended up going on a vacation to Tampa, and using the barter dollars to stay at this hotel that got those. And one of the things that was really cool is because you're using the barter dollars, typically you're going to meet the owner because there was a little bit more of a complication, and they know that you're a business owner, and so that created opportunity. So I meet the owner of this hotel, gets me interested in the hotel. We ended up doing a deal with the hotel where we had this little contest for another real estate business that I ended up buying called Homevestors. But we did this little deal that ended up getting me a lot of lot more barter dollars basically from them. It's too intricate to go into detail, but the really big benefit was I got to see this hotel, understand that referrals were valuable. And the deal that we did was basically we were referring some travelers that were coming down to Tampa, and we had the seminar business that was doing a bunch of seminars, and they were doing it in St. Pete, which is right outside of Tampa. So we got referral fees off of that, which was beautiful. It was in the barter dollars and ended up being a win-win. So years later, to kind of draw this connection of just how all of this stuff starts to be beautiful and just generates income and wealth. I'm in Colombia, and I'm talking to somebody who owns a hotel, and they are, interested in having me invest. And I at that point realized, hey, I did that deal where I was referring people and making money, and basically structure a deal where it was, okay, here's how much I want of the hotel, but I want to refer people and have that money go towards basically my equity. So it's almost like a earn in. I'm sure we've talked, and y'all are on the channel, so what an earn out is. So it's basically an earn in. So it's basically earning into this equity. Now, where was I going to find these people? I was already a part of networks of folks that were international. And so it became a thing where now it's unfortunate because I also have a deal where I can stay there, but it's like booked out 3-4 months. I'd love to say that all of that was me, but it wasn't. But early on, it was not. And so I was able to refer these people and get all this free equity in this hotel. So I was able to pay for some of it, and then I was able to refer some folks and get some free equity. So all of these things start to connect, and you realize like this becomes this this kind of lifestyle where because of the Tampa thing, I was able to have free. I didn't mention that. I also got free discounted stays in Colombia, which is one of the first things that got me to spend more time there. It's like, oh, I can stay here for free. I'll stay. I was able to do the same thing in Tampa. I think back in the day, just I was down and it's like people were like, hey, we're gonna go to vacation. Like, we should go to Tampa because my stuff is gonna be free. With Christopher's, I was eating there all the time. It's like, hey, this is free food. So if you just wanted to use the equity consulting strategy just to live for free, that's one of the things you could do. But I do think you should be using it to build wealth. It's going to be an awesome call that's coming on Tuesday. So you do have a chance to join if you're not in the Patreon and jump on the equity consulting training. And then we've got some other cool stuff that's coming as well. We've got our equity tsunami, the deal flow call coming up in a couple of weeks. Either way, you should definitely be subscribed to this channel and put on the notification button so that when I go live, you can pop in and say hello, just like Marva did when she came in, said thanks for sharing. Thank you for popping in. Be sure to like, be sure to subscribe, be sure to hit the notify. Come hang out with us in the Patreon, and let's use some of these strategies to create the life of our dreams. Have a great one, everybody.